hostage-taking, and therefore hostage negotiating, has existed since the dawn of recorded time. The Old Testament spins plenty of tales of Israelites and their enemies taking each other's citizens hostage as spoils of war. The Romans, for their part, used to force the princes of vassal states to send their sons to Rome for their education, to ensure the continued loyalty of the princes. But until the Nixon administration, hostage negotiating as a process was limited to sending in troops and trying to shoot the hostages free. In law enforcement, our approach was pretty much to talk until we figured out how to take them out with a gun. Brute force. Then a series of hostage disasters forced us to change. In 1971, 39 hostages were killed when the police tried to resolve the Attica prison riots in upstate New York with guns. Then at the 1972 Olympics in Munich, 11 Israeli athletes and coaches were killed by their Palestinian captors after a botched rescue attempt by the German police. But the greatest inspiration for institutional change in American law enforcement came on an airport tarmac in Jacksonville, Florida, on October 4, 1971. The United States was experiencing an epidemic of airline hijackings at the time. There were 5 in one 3-day period in 1970. It was in that charged atmosphere that an unhinged man named George Giff Jr. hijacked a chartered plane out of Nashville, Tennessee, planning to head to the Bahamas. By the time the incident was over, Giff had murdered 2 hostages, his estranged wife and the pilot, and killed himself to boot. But this time the blame didn't fall on the hijacker. Instead, it fell squarely on the FBI. 2 hostages had managed to convince Giff to let them go on the tarmac in Jacksonville, where they'd stopped to refuel. But the agents had gotten impatient and shot out the engine. And that had pushed Giff to the nuclear option. In fact, the blame placed on the FBI was so strong that when the pilot's wife and Giff's daughter filed a wrongful death suit alleging FBI negligence, the courts agreed. In the landmark Downs v. United States decision of 1975, the U.S. Court of Appeals wrote that there was a better suited alternative to protecting the hostages' well-being, and said that the FBI had turned what had been a successful waiting game, during which 2 persons safely left the plane, into a shooting match that left 3 persons dead. The court concluded that a reasonable attempt at negotiations must be made prior to a tactical intervention. The Downs hijacking case came to epitomize everything not to do in a crisis situation, and inspired the development of today's theories, training, and techniques for hostage negotiations. Soon after the Giff tragedy, the New York City Police Department, NYPD, became the first police force in the country to put together a dedicated team of specialists to design a process and handle crisis negotiations. The FBI and others followed. A new era of negotiation had begun.